Welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV, the live TV show all about the legal aspects of your business to help educate you on complex legal terms in an easy to understand manner, to help understand why you need to do certain things in your business from a legal point of view, and to help you develop a plan for the future. Our mission at Business Legal Lifecycle is to help empower all small to medium-sized businesses around the world to get access to legal advice so that they can help build their communities and make the world a better place. Did you know that any business owner is on average 7 months away from losing everything? That is the average time it takes from a successful business to fold when an aspect of their business is not set up correctly. Have you ever wanted to get legal advice but didn't understand what was going on? Do you feel like there is a divide between lawyers and their clients? Then this TV show is for you. It is all about empowering you and your business with the knowledge and tools to ensure that this doesn't happen to you. Business Legal Lifecycle TV delivers a twice-weekly show focusing on the legal aspects of your business. At lunchtime on Mondays, we present Fast Fix Monday, a quick 5 to 10 minute show that will give you some actionable steps to consider for the week for your business. And at lunchtime on Wednesdays, we present our in-depth show of between 30 minutes and an hour, where we go through complicated legal aspects of your business in a simple to understand, plain English manner. And whether that is through educational pieces or interviews with experts in their fields.
Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Business Legal Lifecycle TV. Today is Wednesday, so it's one of our longer form shows, and we're lucky enough today to have someone joining us for an interview, which is great, and we appreciate them giving up their time to come on to the show. As always, I have with me Jeremy, who is conducting the interview and is going to share a few things about the particular interview in a moment. But in the meantime, you want to say hello, Jeremy?
Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great afternoon.
Excellent. So as I said, we have someone on the show. She is the owner of HR Tactics. Now, HR Tactics' mission is to enlighten and guide business owners on how to strategically design and professionally execute HR practices so they can maximise, or you can maximise your return on investment in your people. Now, HR Tactics is a business designed to help businesses with between 10 to 50 employees with no dedicated HR team, but looking for solutions to their HR issues. So there's a lot of businesses out there that I'm sure could use the benefit of HR Tactics. Businesses this size are often either growing or considering launching into a growth phase. So that's where we're at now. Have little or no HR systems or processes in place, and are therefore those that will benefit the most from getting the HR fundamentals right. So applying all this knowledge practically and affordably in smaller businesses is what fulfills our guest, Jackie Strachan, week in, week out. So as I said, it's great to have Jackie with us. Jeremy, what are some of the takeaways that you got from the interview with Jackie Strachan?
Yes, thanks, Craig. So Jackie's a lady that I've done quite a bit of networking with and got to know over the years, and she's really interesting. And today we focus on managing staff. So we don't talk about recruitment. We talk about really what needs to go into managing staff and get some real good tips and tricks that Jackie's seen about what people can do right now to get that done correctly. We talk about some tools that people can use in their business right now, and you'll be able to get those from the workbook, which we've posted as a link under this episode. And the last thing is we talk about Jackie's people plan and what that is. So please watch the show. It's a really interesting and engaging topic. When you watch it, you'll know what I mean by when I emphasize the word engaging. So please enjoy my interview with Jackie Strachan. Welcome, Jackie, to Business Legal Lifecycle TV and our podcast.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on today.
Great. Let's start a bit about you and your business. So can you tell us a bit about your history and how you got into the human resources field?
Yeah, I got into human resources, I guess, for a couple of reasons. Really, initially, it was stems back to, I think, childhood memories, as a lot of things do for us. Childhood memories of my parents just tearing their hair out about staffing issues in their small businesses. Despite being really successful businesses, they were constantly having issues around the staff. So secondly, I'd say it was 10 years in hospitality. In that sector, obviously very service driven, I could really start to see the value that business either gains or loses in terms of how the quality of their staff, the quality of their people. So as a career hospitality person, I chose to work in beautiful 5-star properties all around the world. So I worked alongside some really amazing people and in some amazing properties. But the last property I went to, I was just constantly flabbergasted at the lack of intervention by HR in keeping standards high, lack of training, lack of onboarding, the recruitment processes. Basically, in the end, with all my experience in hotels, I just thought maybe I could do a better job. So I sent myself back to uni, changed career into HR, and wanted to see if I could make a difference. I never did end up working in hotels in HR. My career's taken me in the other directions, but that's essentially what it's about. Yeah.
Great. So tell us a bit about why you moved into your own business.
In the probably last 3 to 5 years of working in HR as an employee, I had some sort of growing feeling, and I couldn't put my finger on it to begin with. But I did a lot of soul searching as to what this growing feeling is, and explored my why, as we all say. And I came down to, it's about, if I can earn a living from doing what I love, and that is about assisting people, imparting all this knowledge I have. If I can earn a living from helping those business owners who need the information that I have, then that's just gold for me. So the thought came into my mind about starting my own business, and it's what I know most, and I can see myself being involved in this area for the rest of my working life. So I thought, let's make it more flexible for me as well, with 2 young children. And as a lot of small business owners do, they start from scratch. And came up with a business name, registered it, and just went from there.
Yeah, and you mentioned your why at the beginning there. Do you want to tell people what your why is?
I'd probably align my why with my mission, really. It's a very simple why. It's about just helping as many business owners as I can. I've seen business owners struggle. I've seen them with really ineffective HR processes, and it's not their fault. They often haven't actually worked in a business that has HR people or HR teams. So it's, it's obviously they're not going to know, but I have that information. So my why I do it is to feel so fulfilled in seeing the results and seeing that relief on their face.
That's awesome. So you've obviously got a lot of experience in the industry. How do you think that experience has helped you to where you're at now?
Oh gosh, having had experience across all the areas of HR, I sort of set myself on a bit of a career path of being a specialist in each area of HR. So for those who don't know the HR industry that well, I guess it's a bit like law in that you've got the different areas. So we've got, workforce planning, we've got recruitment and selection, which everyone's usually heard of. We've got learning and development. We've got workplace health and safety. We've got the payroll. We've got industrial relations. We've got, what have I missed out? So there's a lot of different areas, and I thought I'm going to set myself a goal of moving across and becoming a specialist in all those areas. So that's really stands me in good stead, because clients ring me every day about all sorts of issues. In the morning, I'll get a query about, why are so many of my staff resigning, and at lunchtime it's, okay, we've just found out a staff member has stolen something, or what's the process, what do I need to do. The afternoon, it's okay, I want this employee out, I want them out today, what do I do, can I, how, it can be all sorts of things. So my experience across that breadth has really stood me in good stead in this role. I'm a bit of a variety junkie, so it gives me all that every day.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I wanted to talk as a topic about HR and managing staff. So what is the one key thing that people, as in managers, get wrong with managing the staff in their business?
Jeremy, I'd say engagement.
Okay.
As I sort of alluded to before, there's so many different areas to human resource management. But as far as managing staff these days, 20 years ago you might have said something else, but really engagement these days, that's what we often see most problems come from, a lack of engagement. So, which obviously, you don't see a lot of highly engaged employees leaving their jobs.
Yep.
Yet so many studies show how low engagement levels are in business in Australia, small business, big business, and overseas. It's just staggering. But a lot of employers aren't even measuring it.
Yep.
So they often it's a bit of a set and forget, especially in smaller businesses. They don't see the value of it. Hire and then provide very little in the way of induction or onboarding or training, and just expect the employee to ramp up to 100% performance and why aren't they doing it? And then before they know it, they're regretting their hiring decision.
Yep.
They feel the employee hasn't worked out and they want them out. And there's a lot of very small cost-effective things that you can put in place to engage your staff. And at the end of the day, you as the employer or the business owner are going to be just going to make things so much easier for you.
Yep.
So it's that old adage that you do the work up the front and it helps at the back end. So having various HR initiatives and processes in place to foster but also measure engagement on an ongoing basis is really the key. It's tricky. I mean, what makes one employee feel engaged and in love with their role and their team and the business is not going to float the boat of another employee. It's really tricky, and that's, I guess, why I love it. But we're all human, but if employers want to bring on employees, that's what it's like these days. We can't just give them the traditional compensation as much as some would like to and expect the world from them. There's a lot of psychology behind performance. So engagement it starts with recruitment and it goes through the whole employee life cycle.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I know from my own experience about how important engagement is, and I'm by no means perfect at it, and getting people engaged more and more has been really important for us and our business moving forward.
Well, that's right. I mean, nobody's perfect. We all come to the role of being an employer or a business owner with different experiences, especially those business owners or leaders who haven't ever actually worked in a organisation where there has been a dedicated HR person or team. They're not going to know the key fundamentals of HR that can make a difference and can actually engage their staff at the same time. So engagement is really the key to managing your staff. You can even do a lot of other things poorly, but if they feel engaged, you're going to get performance.
And we're all about giving practicals, and there's a workbook that we'll have done for today's episode. What's one thing that a business owner can do straight away to start that engagement process? Just without getting really too complex, just something that they can do straight away to start that off.
I'd say meet with your staff. Start meeting with them more frequently. If you're not, if you are, then take a look at what you're actually talking about when you are meeting them. Some people might know that, but many who aren't in the HR area probably don't know that the movement is definitely away from having those annual performance appraisals. So, in a nutshell, start connecting with your staff more and making sure they feel as though you see them as more than just the person who turns up at whatever time, does these tasks for them.
Yeah, great. And I have to say, once again, I've started doing that, and I think that's a great tip because that really does help. You're able to have a chat to them, and it makes them so much more engaged just on a daily basis. So I think that's great. So what about some key concepts that people they need to get right when they're managing their staff on a daily basis? So have you got some other stuff on that?
Okay, so I guess if we're talking managing, where for simplicity's sake, that's everything after the recruitment process. So, knowing we're on a time limit here, I could talk all day, all week on this stuff.
Yep.
But I guess three that I'd pick, three priorities that you really need to get right when you're managing stuff on a daily basis. The first one I'd say is risk. So that's around for HR, that's HR compliance, employment compliance, which you would do work with clients around that all the time with your law firm. So every time you employ someone, you're essentially introducing potential risks to the business. So employing staff and getting those key compliance factors right. And when I say compliance, key pieces of legislation we'd be talking here and that I work with clients on around the Fair Work Act and the Workplace Health and Safety Act. There are other pieces of legislation, but they're the main ones that I work with. And to make sure you're 100% compliant here, you really need to ensure your HR practices are set up correctly. And it's all about having evidence, so protecting yourself. It's about the employee, but it's about you. So an example might be a new starter arrives on day one and is responsible for using a piece of machinery in his role. But the machinery is dangerous. You might show him, but have no record that you've shown him how to use it. So, I work with business, go, okay, show me evidence that you've shown him how to use it. Do you ever check that he can use, actually get him to demonstrate? Do you ever periodically take a note that you've seen him using it correctly? I mean, if things go wrong and this employee gets injured as a result of using the machinery incorrectly and you have no evidence on file and it's all he said, she said, there's nothing to really that you'll be able to submit and put to work cover and ways that you can minimise the fallout for the business in those situations. I mean, with the Fair Work Act, paying your staff correctly, obviously we've seen a lot of high profile issues there. Handling termination, redundancy processes correctly. That's big as far as managing your staff day to day, especially if you're going to handle those situations yourself. There's very clear guidelines on how to handle them. But simply, one of the simplest things when it comes to risk, there's key documentation, position description. I would say go back, have a look at your position descriptions because it's so underrated, I think, this document. An employment contract and a position description set up sort of the parameters and it's your fallback to take emotion out of difficult conversations often and say, well, look here, it was understood from the beginning that this was part of your role. It just reduces your risk and things like unfair dismissal claims and
I think that's great advice. Just agreements in general. There's a great saying that good contracts make great relationships, and I think that's such a good saying in so many different areas, but definitely in employment contracts, so that people actually understand what their roles and obligations are. I think that's great advice. Yeah,
and I'll just say. There's the employment contract as far as the legal side of things, but a position description and even onboarding checklists and things like that brings in the psychological contract of an employment arrangement. So it's not a legal binding document, a position description or an onboarding checklist that is evidence they've signed off, they've been told certain things, but it's about building rapport and understanding and commitment and knowledge and skills right from the beginning and minimising the question marks that are floating out there. It's as I say, those documents cover both building engagement if you do them well and protection for you and the business.
Great. So what about tools? Are there tools that people can use to manage their employees better? So we are talking about management today. So as far as just the management side of it, and what tools can they use to help avoid those problems?
there's heaps, and having started a business myself from nothing, there's a lot of tools out there for free when it comes to what I was just talking about there, fair work and workplace health and safety. There's heaps of information. Obviously, going to Fair Work site, as far as workplace health and safety, you've got WorkSafe, WorkCover Queensland. There's heaps of information, but some business owners don't want to actually look into all that stuff. Hence, they might come to someone like me or you to get us to do that legwork for them and just give them the bottom line, what they need to do. But tools like professionally drafted employment contracts, up-to-date policies, tools like the HR software that's out there is amazing for very small price. They can get onto things like Enable HR, Employment Hero. There's so many options that do different things, but use these as a tool for automating as many of the administrative HR processes as possible. As far as onboarding, I mentioned before, an onboarding checklist. Research shows us that actually having a structured onboarding process actually builds things like commitment, loyalty, intention to stay, reduces absenteeism. So include in that onboarding checklist tool things like reviewing the PD, orientating them with the workplace, introductions to colleagues, a review of all policies, or at least the key risky ones. Tell them how performance management is managed here, and then schedule those one-to-ones. I mentioned before the counselling and discipline and termination areas. That's pretty risky, and tools around there. Obviously, there's heaps on the the Fair Work Ombudsman site. You've got the phone call, free phone line that you can access them. But having a performance management and discipline policy is a very good start. Actually taking the emotion out of it and putting it on paper. Something that they have to sign, that they've read, that they understand, they agree to abide by. That way they know exactly how it'll be handled. But also a policy, I find some clients of mine, oh yes, we've got a policy for that. But we're looking at how they've just dealt with the termination process and they haven't even followed the policy. It's just a document that they all of a sudden feel good they've got, but they're not actually following it. So policies are another really underrated area. But, I mean, Jeremy, you're a perfect tool. I'm a perfect tool as a HR consultant, as a lawyer. We're tools out there for people to make use of.
It's interesting what you say about the policies, because I was actually going to ask you that question about what are some of the key fundamental things to put into an employment policy. But I find it amusing that people do, they spend money, they get these things drafted, they put them together, then it goes in the second drawer. A great advisor once said to me, anything you don't want, you put in your second drawer, if you've got, in your desk, because the top drawer is where you put all the important stuff, your bottom drawer is where you put the stuff that you will actually look at, but the second drawer, people seem to put their employment policies in that second drawer, and then they never look at it, and then they wonder why things go wrong. I think it's extraordinary. So just what are some of the key things that should go into a workplace employment policies for a business?
Well, the key policies I always, and remembering my clients, 40, 50, 60 employees or less. Sometimes I do have a larger client, but the most important things are around, and you might even put these in an employment contract as well, around email and internet usage. I mean, I'm not saying the youth of today, oh gosh, what a nightmare, because I don't consider myself that old yet, but more and more my clients say these staff of mine are always on Facebook, or that, it's driving them mad. They feel it's a productivity issue. Have it in writing in a policy somewhere. Talk to them about it on day one. Set the expectations. I would definitely be having information around workplace health and safety. It's a very litigious area. Set out the expectations of employees. Set out the responsibilities of the employer. Reporting processes, how to actually raise an issue around health and safety. What else? Performance management is another one. It's a risky area, and it's just better if it's all laid out in front from the beginning and talked openly about, not talked about when things are starting to go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's key, isn't it? Once again, it's that engagement issue. So make sure that it's been talked about and make sure that you actually follow the policies that you have in place.
Yep. Talk about it when there's no issue. Talk about just, this is the way it works here.
Yep. So in my research, going through your online stuff and previous discussions we've had, there's been reference to a people plan. Can you tell me about what that is?
Yeah, people plan is really a business's HR strategy. So I've just picked my own words. That's the beauty of having your own business. You can come up with whatever you like. People plan is really a HR strategy. So having a straight HR strategy is just as relevant for smaller businesses as it is for larger businesses. So I call it a people plan, and to develop one, I work with business owners or key people in their organisation to really identify what their current HR needs are to achieve the goals they want to achieve, but also what their future HR needs to achieve the goals they want to achieve. So some businesses aren't looking at growing or making any major changes. So we're looking at what are their current needs. Some are. So we're looking with a more future focus. So would you like me to go into explain a bit about how we put one together or the process?
That was going to be my next question. So please, explain that process so people can get an idea about the work that's involved in doing something like that.
Yep. So I start with discussions with them. It's all got to start with me getting a real understanding of their business. So what their business goals are. Then we might move on to discuss and investigate which HR activities and projects and resources, the amount of time they have available to dedicate to HR. We work out which ones of those need to be a priority in order to achieve those goals. So it's, I keep the process fairly simple, although I've, worked in big business HR. I don't talk the big business HR stuff, so I'm quite real and down to earth, and business owners really enjoy that. So this way their HR strategy is directly linked to their overall business strategy. For example, if an accounting firm wants to expand their services or they want to grow in numbers of staff, the business is best to obviously take a more strategic approach to that rather than, coming up with ideas on the run. So there's going to be various key HR activities that are going to come up in our conversations that we decide in a business like that, about to launch into increasing numbers of staff and change of services. We're going to want to look at recruitment. We want to make that an essential focus. We want to make sure that the tools and the process, how we're running the processes, are really designed in a way that will ensure that they're bringing on board the exact knowledge, skills, capability, but also the attitude needed. And we're going to look at what they've got now as well. So where are the gaps? We might look at development. So is there training, is there something in place, or do we need to develop something to fill those knowledge and skill gaps? So make sure that things like our onboarding processes, our training, any training we developed are designed in a particular way to keep increasing employee capability towards the ideal. And third project, we don't try to spread ourselves too thin in the people plan. These businesses have got a lot going on. So sometimes it's one project over 12 months or 6 months. Sometimes it might be 3. Another one with, say, an accounting firm growing in size and expanding their services could be around culture. So we might have the best training in place. We might be recruiting the people with the right knowledge and skills. But if we're not keeping a handle on the culture, because with change comes a lot of people handle change in different ways. We need to really make sure we're keeping our finger on the pulse of engagement levels. If there's going to be a lot of change, we need to keep monitoring that and making sure that everyone's really well connected, and I guess building a sense of excitement from the beginning of the change, looking for people to participate in the change. And that's where sort of change management theories really help us in terms of helping business owners to work through those people changes, the impacts on people. Yeah, I mean, there's small scale things we do as well. There's small scale, say a business has got a really aging workforce and they talk to us about that. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We'll look at succession management. So our discussion will be around, well, let's look at the ages, who's in what role, who do you think's going to leave? Do you really know? Start having some discussions with staff. Let's start putting pegs in holes as far as who might move into roles, and who we might need to recruit in, what skills and knowledge. So it's about growing your own and buying in. Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's a lot of great information that people will be able to take away and actually implement. So let's move into the topic. I always like to talk to my guests about the future. First of all, there's a lot of disruption. It's the buzzword at the moment. Everyone's talking about disruption in lots of different industries. What do you see as the biggest challenges in the HR space in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I see a couple of things. First of all, because the number of SMEs and startups coming through is astronomical. But as those startups and micro businesses, as they start transitioning from a startup to a more established operation, there really comes a tipping point where the owner of the business accepts they can't any longer handle everything and be involved in everything. So the challenge for us as HR practitioners is really being persuasive and demonstrating to them that the good foundations in HR, the impact it can have on their business. So HR is I guess, less thought about in smaller businesses. So our challenge for HR is to get more persuasive and savvy in how we really demonstrate the impact, how we advise on specific HR issues in these smaller businesses and help build really agile and flexible initiatives inside those businesses. Yeah, that's the other thing is, I reckon, the ever-growing administrative burden, not just the legalities of running a business, but there's the administrative tasks, and there's a lot involved in HR as far as admin. So the more that someone can automate those, and I spoke about some of the systems earlier, there are systems out there that do not cost the earth and that can just take off your hands so many tasks. And you can stop holding the information in your head. They'll handle all your compliance. They'll handle all your record keep. Like, it ticks so many boxes. So any growing business that's still supported by heavily manually managed functions will inevitably reach a point where it just becomes too much. So that's going to lead to substandard service, obviously. So if it's not dealt with, so it's the simplest solution, but that's going to get more and more of an issue, and businesses that don't jump on board with these cloud-based solutions that you can use from anywhere they're just going to find the whole HR area too much to handle.
Excellent. So what about you? For you, what's next on the horizon for you?
Well, I'm about to launch a program around my people plan, actually. So that's the very short term, what's next for me. And bringing working with law firms like yourself.
Yep.
But focus on law firms, accountancy firms, those professional services, more corporate areas, and helping their business owners, their leaders, their directors over about a 3-month period. And I haven't launched this yet. I'm still tinkering with the ideas, how it might look.
Yep.
Something like a 5-hour a month, where we actually work out the people plan, and then each month they get assistance from me. So that's the very next thing. But other than that, it's business as usual, really, getting out there and helping as many businesses as I can.
So thanks, Jackie, for all your wonderful insight. I think everyone would have got a lot out of it. Are you ready to go into our quickfire round?
I am.
Excellent. So just give me the first thought that comes to your mind when I ask these questions. So question number 1, what book are you currently reading?
Actually, I've got it here. It's Janine Garner's book. It's Who You Know. Give her a bit of publicity there. Yeah. So that's the book. That's the name of the book.
Excellent. And what's that about?
It's really about your network. So making sure that you've got key people in your network, things like a butt kicker, a promoter. She goes into various four key people, and then from that 12 key people. It's awesome, and I've seen Janine Garner speak as well. She's fantastic.
Excellent. I'll have to check that one out. Second question is, what book do you think that every business owner should read?
I guess I could say that one. I'd have to say this one. Yeah.
Okay,
no matter what size business, we're all going through the same issues, and it's really having that support network around you.
And for anyone who is listening to this, that's the same book. Jackie's held up the same book for both. Yeah. And final question: if you could give advice to your younger self, what would that advice be?
My younger self, sitting there at a desk as a HR manager in a small business, working with Excel spreadsheets. That's the picture of when I was just like this. There's got to be a better way, and that's when I found the automation software. Okay. I just Googled and I started speaking to people and found that there's this whole world of automation software for HR out there. That would be my advice if I was speaking to my younger self. I'd be saying, God, find out if there's a way to automate this stuff and stop using Excel.
Yep, fair enough. All right, well, great answers.
You might have been looking for something a little deeper there, were you?
No, not at all. No, that's fine. It's a good answer. I mean, it's perfect. So, is there anything that we've missed that you think is important that you want to get over to the viewers and listeners today?
Well, we haven't really touched on recruitment, and often people think HR, that's recruitment, and obviously from what we've spoken about today, it's a lot more than recruitment. But I guess leave listeners with the thought that just how important having really awesome recruitment processes are. I mean, you're going to be in a whole world of pain with poor selection tools, poor processes, and if business owners or leaders, anyone listening, are managing their own recruitment processes, that's fine. Sometimes it's just not viable to use an agency or to have an in-house HR person. But even if you get on Google and do some research, type in best practice recruitment processes, and make some sensible decisions, because if it goes wrong there, it can just spiral throughout the employment life cycle. So, or seek advice of a HR consultant or a lawyer.
That's right. Excellent. So finally, as I said before, really great interview. I think everyone's got a lot of value out of today. If anyone wants to, reach out to you and discuss anything further with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best way would be either email. You can email me directly at my email address, jackie@hrtactics.com.au, or phone me directly, 0406 146 116, or you can send a message through the website. But and yeah, get in touch and we can have an initial chat. None of my initial chats cost anything.
Yep.
Even those clients even those who I meet with that don't actually, it doesn't turn into an ongoing client relationship. You're always going to get value from the discussions that we have. So yeah, it's really about just getting together on Skype or face-to-face and getting conversations going, seeing if there's some way that my knowledge can assist you.
Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak soon.
Great. Thanks, Jeremy. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Jackie Strachan. As you would have got from that interview, we talk a lot about managing staff, and I hope you were engaged enough to understand what I'm talking about when I say engaged, and the importance of engagement of your staff on a regular basis. We also talked about some of the great tools that are out there that you can use, and Jackie goes through those. And I hope you also understood what Jackie talked about a people plan. People plans really are important, and having the right strategies in place are really, really important to get it right for your business. So as I said at the beginning, as always, we've got a workbook. If you're watching this on Facebook, you'll see the link below that I've posted up to a link for the workbook. If you're listening to the podcast or watching this on Periscope or YouTube, please feel free to go to businesslegallifecycle.com.au/092. This is our 093. It's our 93rd show. And you'll be able to download a copy of the workbook there. Craig, do you want to finish off?
Absolutely. Remember, everyone, to like us on Facebook or wherever else you might be getting the content. Feel free to ask any questions or make any contributions. We really enjoy receiving questions and engaging with our viewers or listeners. So if you've got anything you want to share, please let us know. And as Jeremy said, check out the website, show 93, to get the show notes and the workbook. We'll be back again on Monday for Fast Fix Monday, where we're talking more about employees in this phase of the business legal life cycle. So hopefully you can join us then. We'll see you there.
Thanks very much.